Everyone to lecture 17 of cloud computing. So in this lecture, continue our discussion on intercloud resource management about some basic background of intercloud management in the last class. And one of the typical example, if you see, of which was developed by Melbourne Research Group of Professor Rajkumar Bhuya, and that the intercloud management, what they were designed, right? That Melbourne Research Group designed, that they called as a French Grid 5000 system, right? So this is a typical system developed by them. So they defined this Grid 5000 system, which consists of different cities, you can say, or nine different sites of France, right? So they have shown that how they are these nine sites are connected to each other in order to provide resources to the customer. And this research group also the internal aspect of the virtual machine, right? They have studied the details of virtual machine, what is the pros and cons, and what kind of issues virtual machine faces during its life period. So they illustrate the VM creation and management, and they also revealed what are the major virtual management issues, right? What are the issues with respect to management, whether it is the deployment issues, or it may be, let's say, migration issues. All the issues are a few important issues are reported by these research groups, right? And they also suggested of the possible solutions with respect to that issues, right? So it is not very easy to manage multiple virtual machine on top of the physical machine. Okay, in the early stage of cloud computing, so they have how they found some of the major issues, and they've also given the solution how to combat that issues, right? That I will tell you in the later, and I will show you also how these grid 5000 systems are connected, how these nine cities are connected, what is the capacity, means how many cores are there in each and every sites, that will discuss later. So whenever you go for such system, intercloud system, it may happen that, for example, let's say three cloud service provider, let's say CSP1 and CSP2 and CSP3 need to collaborate each other in order to provide services to the customer, right? So whenever a particular application is submitted by a user to a particular cloud service provider, for example, this user is submitting the request to cloud service provider 1. So what cloud service provider 1 will see, it will check its availability of the resources, which we discussed, that is called as node availability. If sufficient nodes are available in CSP1, then it is fine. If nodes are not available in CSP1, CSP1 can take the help of CSP2 or can take the help of CSP3 in order to complete the work assigned by a particular user. Right? What they are doing, one cloud service provider is collaborating with another cloud service provider in order to fulfill the requirement of a particular customer. Right? So whenever for such scenario, it may happen that whatever application submitted by a particular user, that application may be independent or it may be dependent, right? If it is independent, then there is no issue, right? If I submit some request to a particular cloud service provider which is independent in nature, suppose I am giving five works and five works are independent in nature, so there is no problem. Cloud service provider can easily give any work to cloud service provider 2 or cloud service. Okay, so these tasks are right. There is no relationship, so there is no that type of relationship, output relationship, right? So they are independent. So in such cases, it is very easy. But whenever you go for a dependent case means once you solve a particular work, then only you can do your second work, right? Like cloud service provider, so one is doing a particular work number one, and assigned work number 2 to here, work number 3 to here, again work number 4 with him, and fifth work to here. Let's say in round robin fashion. What will happen? Once one task is completed, if two is dependent on one, so when one is completed, the cloud service provider need to give access to cloud service provider 2 by giving all the temporary files or the output of one to the cloud service provider 2, so that the cloud service provider, what it will do, it will start the execution the second task, right? So what you are seeing here, the task number 2 is dependent on the task number 1, right? Until unless the task 1 is completed by a particular cloud service provider, this cloud service provider 2 is unable to the work number 2, right? So such type of configuration you have to see whenever you go for inter-cloud management. There is a lot of open issues are there with respect to the task partitioning or application partitioning. Whenever an application is given, is submitted by a particular user, how to decompose it into small parts. That is a very important aspect. Or in software engineering also you have studied something called cohesion and coupling, right? If you remember in that cohesion and coupling, and where you are decomposing a module into sub-modules in order to assign these sub-modules to various means software engineers to develop their module, right? Multiple software engineers can work in a single project. So if you see in such cases also division of a module into sub-modules is also a very difficult task, right? Similarly, if you see here, I told you about Amazon AWS, that is Amazon Web Service is providing one service that is called as a simple queue service, that is called as a SQS. SQS service, why it is required? Because whenever the CSP1 need to send the result to CSP2, so you have to ensure that there is a reliable communication between CSP1 and CSP2. Or whenever the task 2 is completed, let's say task 3 is dependent on 2, so CSP2 need to communicate with the CSP3 in order to execute task number 3, where a reliable communication is desired. So in order to get this reliable communication, what you will do, you will take the help of your simple queue services provided by Amazon. Okay, so between the provider, whatever communication they are doing, they are using, if they are using this Amazon simple queue services in order to uh, communicate whatever the results. It may be related to the disk image, it may be related to any kind of message communication between two service provider, it may be based on the deadline of the applications, they can communicate through this simple queue service. This is a typical example. Here you can see in this particular picture, the idea will be more clear. Here we introduce a thing that is called as VM template. Okay, like whenever you are submitting a project report or whenever you are submitting a particular, you can say seminar report, you are asking your teacher or you are asking your senior what is the format, right? In which format we will submit, or in whenever you are presenting something also, then you need to specify that. Which format you need to follow, right? Similarly, whenever a VM is launched, whether in the Amazon EC2, okay, or in, you can say, in a local physical infrastructure that is owned by a particular company, or whatever we discussed today, that is Grid 5000 system developed by Melbourne Research Group. So there you can deploy a virtual machine. But the question arises, in which format you have to submit the requirement for a particular virtual machine. So you can see here we are submitting VMMS, that is virtual machine monitors dot submit, right? Which takes two parameter. One is VM template, another is called host, right? This VM template is predefined by various cloud service provider, or in some cloud service provider you have to submit. You have to go for some portal kind of thing where you have to click the appropriate option. The template will be generated, right? So this generally, if you go for VM template, if you see the VM template, it is nothing but a XML file. In that XML file, you will see various parameters like number of nodes required, number of your number of spaces, storage is required. Each and every parameter is specified in that VM template, right? So you can see here in the left part there is a template directory is there. There are a lot of templates are there. You can see one template is there. we says that we have to launch this in Ubuntu system with one core and the space is 128 megabytes, right? Similarly, Fedora is another type of Linux, right? It is having two cores. This is another template with 256 megabytes. Similarly, OpenSUSE is having one core and 512 megabytes. So a lot of template is there, like you have seen in Amazon S3 also. Whenever you are creating a template, you are going for predefined template. So you can create your own template or you can use an existing template in order to deploy the virtual machine in one of the either in the Amazon, which is providing you infrastructure as a service, or on top of the local physical system, I am installing Open Nebula to handle this, or you can go for Grid 5000 system where OR or this K, K deploy, right? So such things you can do in order to deploy a particular virtual machine. So is this diagram typically shows how you are interacting with the system and how you are using public API. You can see here public API to monitor the status of the virtual machine or to submit a request to the virtual machine or to control the virtual machines. You can see here also one command is written VM instance dot shutdown. So we need to shut down our virtual machine once our work is done. We are releasing our resources to the cloud provider. So such type of things are managed through this particular interface. Okay, in order to run the entire system, you know that you may use a cloud service provider's API or you can take a third-party API. So out of which, if you see Web 2.0 forms are is a very popular form by which you are accessing to the cloud service provider. Although Web 3.0 is launched, but Web 2.0 is a very providing interactive applications, and most cloud service provider is using this Web 2.0 platform in order to enable the users to use the cloud system, right? And you know, in order to access the cloud, what you need a web browser. That web browser maybe your Google Chrome, maybe Mozilla Firefox, maybe Opera Mini, or maybe any type of Internet Explorer or any type of browser you can use in order to access the system. So these browsers are providing a interface, user interface for end user, right? So that they can access to a particular thing, like we are assessing Amazon EC2 or Amazon S3, right? In order to use the cloud services, right? And here, if you see, there are a lot of examples are there. Like if you go for Google App Engine and Microsoft Azure, so these two cloud service provider, if you want to service like Google App Engine is providing you the platform, Microsoft Azure is providing various services. If you go for such platform, they are using their own cloud APIs. They are not giving a third party API, but they are using their own cloud API to get the cloud services. The API library, whatever used by a cloud service provider, may be developed by that cloud service provider, or it may be provided by a third party, right? So you can see here, few cloud service providers are very rigid. They are using their own cloud APIs. Their cloud APIs are better. They are thinking in comparison to third party applications. Similarly, if you go for IBM Blue Cloud, basically in the IBM research group is using this IBM Blue Cloud. So if you go for that one, you can see WebSphere application engine is used to interact with the user, right? Similarly, if you EC2 is providing any application engine. It is giving you flexibility that you can use any web browser, right? Or you can use Amazon so or application engine in order to access to the Amazon cloud or the Amazon services, that is AWS. Okay, so whenever you go for submitting a request, if you want to submit a particular request to the cloud service provider, so you have to take the help of the virtual machine manager. So last class I told you about IGG, that is Intergrid Gateway. So whenever you are communicating one cloud service provider another cloud service provider, managed by this IGG. IGG is connected to your virtual infrastructure engine, okay, and virtual infrastructure engine is everything about that physical resources, right? So if you see, VM manager provides a link between the gateway and resources. So this VIE, okay, you can say this is a manager If you see this IgG, okay, Intergrid Gateway, if you see, and it is connected to your physical, your compute cloud and storage cloud, if you see, through a gateway, right? Sorry, through a VM manager, right? Through a manager or through a virtual infrastructure engine. So this is an interface to connect this IgG with your cloud resources, right? And this relies on the virtualization technology to deploy the VMs in the physical infrastructure through the VI, right? So VI can create and drop the virtual machine on a physical cluster. So here you can see, if you assume that this is a physical cluster, VI can launch, and VI also having uh, the availability of the systems, and VI also monitors the resources, and VI can start and stop the machine just like a virtual machine management. So one of the popular VMM, you know that XCN is a VM, or VMware is a VM, or KVM is a popular virtual machine monitor. So you can use the VM in the VI place in order to process. So in this, submit the virtual machine using the hypervisor. Right? Hypervisor is the unit which allows you to deploy VMs in the deploy the VMs in the physical machine, which enables the running of several operating systems at most capability. Yes, by the help of hypervisor, only you machine on top of a physical machine. So that is the thing. But here VM manager plays an important role, because VM manager manages particular thing, right? Like launching these VMs and monitoring these things. Okay, that is nothing hypervisor, right? So hypervisor will help you to do this one and accommodate multiple user in on top of a single physical machine. If you see a VM, I will give you the details about the VM template in a practical scenario, right? That is more clear. But if you see, typically VM template consists of following functions. So it is having, you have to define the number of cores or processors or virtual CPUs to be assigned to the virtual machine, right? So as per your application, you have to define how many cores are and how many processors are required. Okay, and what is the configuration of processor? Like you, whenever you go for your computer system, your my computer, if you see the properties, you are able to see what is your processor is attached to your computer system, right? So it is written as some some gigahertz and some number of cores, right? For example, i3 processor is having 2 core, right? So that thing you need to mention in the VM template, right? That's, you can write a XML kind of thing. XML, you have to take the help of XML to write the VM template, or you have a portal kind of thing in which there is an option like how you select the number of processor, select the number of storage, okay, and other things like other QS parameter, availability and scalability, or you can say, okay, these things you, right, accordingly automatically it will be generated. Once you submit this thing, you can generate the template, right? That thing can be done to go normal way, define if you knowledge of, and you have knowledge of how to create a VM template. Apart number of cores, you also have to specify the amount of memory virtual machine required, right? You have to specify that how much storage is required, 250 GB or 5 GB or 10 GB, whatsoever maybe, you have to define in the VM template, right? Next one is required, that is the kernel used to boot the virtual machine operating system. Similarly, disk image containing the or the price for virtual machine, right? Although these parameters varies with respect to size parameter with respect, but based upon your requirement, automatically the price will be generated. Some of the parameter is selected as a default one, right? Many cases you somewhere it is written default. Don't want to give any choice. The default option will be, tell you little bit image is nothing but you have seen that ISO a particular software nowadays. We are purchasing the DVD. In the DVD, you have or you are whenever you are copying from your friends about systems or maybe related to a particular software, we are getting an image, ISO image file. ISO image file is we are running right, by the help of this Windows or something like that. We are extracting that the file and installing in a particular computer system. Similarly, whenever a transferred from a cloud service provider to run the remaining work of that particular work in other cloud service provider, or the task assigned to the cloud service provider 2 is dependent on the task whatever running in the cloud service provider 1. So once the task is completed, its real file will be created. All the temporary details, all the files that are required to execute the task number 2 in another cloud service provider, everything will be creating a image, and that this image need to be transferred to the cloud service in order to start executing the that work in the cloud service provider too. That's why everywhere we are creating a disk image. That disk image is called before executing any application. Manager, if you are giving your manager, if you are giving your to various cloud service providers, you have to ensure that all the files of a particular application need to a particular cloud service provider so that that cloud service provider can start the execution, right? And this IG, that is your gateway administrator, if you see, this gateway administrator provides the VM template information, right? That there is some existing VM templates are there. You can create their own template in order to submit their application, okay, into cloud, right? Automation generates a descriptor for the template. After submitting template, so this generates a descriptor, right? If you see this descriptor is nothing but a superset of whatever there in the right. Descriptor contains the information related to VM template. This additional information is also associated with this descriptor, right? So in addition to these VM templated, what are the additional information is there in the descriptor? You can see the disk image that contains the VM file system, right? Or the address of the physical machine that is going to host the virtual machine. It is the or it is managing the monitoring everything about virtual machine. So what we will do is also knowing that which physical machine is going to host the virtual machine, right? So this physical machine's IP address, everything will be taken care by this, and it is also holding the information about VM's network configuration and the required information for the deployment of an on an IaaS provider. Everything is considered as an additional information and stored in descriptor, right? So this descriptor is managed by your VMM, right? This descriptor is generated by the VMM before deploying the virtual machine on a physical machine, right? So before starting an instance, whether it is a EC2 instance, in the diagram, that is a EC2 instance, or there is a your physical infrastructure. So that physical infrastructure you can also make use to serve the customers, right, or the user, or you can go for grid 5000 system kind of thing where you are getting resources, right? So before starting any instances, the scheduler gives the network configuration and the host address, right? As you are going to deploy a particular virtual, you should know the network address and how to configure the network, right? Configuring network and which protocol is followed, right? What is the MAC address, or you can see here, it then allocates the MAC address and IP address of that instances. Like every system is having MAC address, and every resources is also connected to the internet. So their IP address, MAC address, everything will be there, right? So the descriptor can provide a detailed information about this MAC address and IP address. And it may happen that the resource is available in another site, right? That's how to reach that particular site, right? For that, whatever you have studied in the network, that is routing information is required. Routing will provide a proper path from the source to the destination, right? So to deploy the several instances, suppose I want to go for multiple instances, right? Like I mentioned that Flipkart has lot of servers, right? Similarly, Flipkart requested lot of servers to a cloud service provider, right? If such case, they are running multiple instances, right, at the same time. So if you are planning for such type of instances, that is more than one instance is required, so you may follow the same VM template, or you may go for different VM template, right? If identical instances, then you can use the same VM template. If it is not identical, then you can define with respect to the instances different types of template you can specify, right? And these you can define in parallel, right? And each instance will be disk image, right? Whatever the disk image is required to run a particular virtual machine, as you are creating the multiple instances, disk image whatever you have, that copy is given to each and every physical site, right? So the descriptor contains the path of the anyhow this descriptor which is generated by your VMM. Okay, is the path of the copied disk image. If you go for Amazon EC2 as an example to illustrate the whatever we discussed, so you can see that Amazon EC2 IP to the instances. Each and every instances is located using a public IP, and this public IP will be given by your virtual machine monitor, right? IG a VM template called VM template directory. In that diagram also I told you about somebody may require a Fedora system with one core 128 megabyte, or somebody may require Ubuntu system with two core with some space. Everything is managed in the 8 VM template directory, right? So based upon your requirement, you have to see that which one is closely fit in the directory, right? If it is fitting, or if you are satisfied with that one, you can use that VM template in order to request to a particular cloud service provider. So many cloud service provider is also not providing the customization, so you cannot use your own template in order to request to a particular cloud service.
Sir, you're not audible, sir.
My, my voice now? You check once? Okay, okay, okay. So the what we are discussing before this connection? Can anybody write in the chat box? What we have discussed? So stop sharing is also not working. What is the problem with Webex? Okay, let me exit and rejoin again. Before that, I'm giving the host role to Asmin. Okay, so let me rejoin.
Okay, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir, it's visible now, sir. Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
Asmin, are you able to see my screen? What can anybody tell? I'm telling about this grid system or which what we discussed. What we have discussed, can anybody tell? So that I'll continue from that point. To check this one, we are discussing this slide before this disconnection. Please respond. 117. Okay. This one, Leaders, this 17 from beginning. 17 is over or 117 we have to start. interaction in the intragrid component. I have shown you one of the diagram in which YGG is interacting with IGG, right? So there is a VM manager. That VM manager is going to create a query on behalf of a particular user and broker. You can see that VM manager requesting the virtual machine on behalf of the user, whatever user has submitted based upon its requirement, to find a list of resources that is fit for that particular request. They are obtaining a particular list here. The list is nothing but a public and private address which is connected to this cell tunnel, right? So after getting this list, then we can select based upon our requirement. Let it be the number of VM instances or the deadline and whatever specified by user requirement. So based upon that, you have to select one of the resources from the list, right? You can also specify that because many users applications need to restrict a particular geographical boundary. For example, you can say that your application should run for, let's say, in US West region, not any other region, right? So if the resources is not available in region, then whether you can move to US East region or not, that is nothing but your address of the alternate gateway that you need to specify in your VM template. The resource is not available in region, whether it's possible for that, whether if you are flexible to move to another particular region or not, that also you need to mention here, right? So that's why the gateways are using the conservative backfilling. Conservative backfilling means if users submitted three works, let's say first works requirement is not fulfilled, but second works requirement is fulfilled. So what happen? We can apply this conservative backfilling so that the second task can be assigned before task, because first task requirement is not satisfied. In this way, you can increase the profit. Also, you can increase the resource utilization for a particular cloud service provider, right? So in this example, you can the Grid 5000 system developed by our Icon Research Group, comprised of your four, and they divided this entire network into 9 grid sites. And they're given different name, as you can see, where they called one side as Sophia, another by Nancy, another by Rennes, right? And number of cores in each and every site is different. But if you sum the number of cores of all the sites, that is nothing but 4792 number of cores are available through the 9 regions, right? So what that with respect to a single core, you can install you can create one virtual machine. That means at a time you can create 4792 virtual machine which can run in this map, right? So whenever a client is requesting a particular application, the client may specify Nancy, you have to run my application in the Nancy site, right? If not Nancy site, then it may be, let's say, in the Lily site, or it may be in the Sophia site, it may be Rennes site, that you need to specify. So based upon your alternate gateway, if the first gateway is not available, second gateway is picked to execute your application in that particular site, right? So here you can see here the in the peering operation, right? Peering operations means suppose your machine is overloaded and then the machine is, let's say, underloaded. So what you can do, you can exchange the load among yourself in order to balance the load, right? So here see the Sophia is connected to OC, this is connected through the IGG. So that is a two gateway connections. Similarly, there is a three gateway connection, or there may be a four gateway connections, or you can see if you see these 9 sites, there may be a mesh topology kind of connections, right? So that each and every sites can have a personal link to connect to any other. There is a scarcity of resources, right? So this is a typical test bed developed by that research group to illustrate how intra the cloud resource management works. You can see there are four sites specially they have taken. One is Nancy, Rennes, and Ose and Sophia. They compare this site in terms of four parameters, right? First parameter is called as load without peering. The first one you can see this part is called as load with one. This bar indicates load without peering, right? What it indicates? It may happen that applications are received by Nancy and the application received by Renes that are completely different. So there is no centralized control in a distributed system. Each and every site is independent. Okay. So after carefully observing, we have seen that Renes received so many requests in comparison to other sites. If you say, right, this is having very less number of requests, right? Whereas Renes received so many requests, right? So this is another cloud, or this is a site, another site on it. If this resource can be these requests can be migrated or can be transferred to Orse, so Orse's resource utilization will also increase, and this overload things will also reduce. So that is the objective, right? So the first bar indicates without they executing the works independently. They are not dependent on others. They are not any others, right? So they are individually executing their work. That is called as your first algorithm, that is load without peering. Second one is called as load with peering. They decided need to collaborate each other, right, for their mutual benefit, and they want to share their. What happens if they initiate this load and peering concept? Then what happens? The second bar is the load. So if you see here, the load of Nancy is more or less same whenever it is going for load when peering, right? Because it is average load. Whenever you go for this Renes, right, this load with peering system, so some of the workloads are transferred to some other uh, right, or other sites. Like some request is transferred to Orse and some transferred to your Sophia, or little bit transferred to Nancy. So its load is reduced a lot, right? And others, if you see, they are resources are now little bit occupied, right? The second bar you can observe. Third one indicates how much load is accepted by a particular site. It is not necessary that whatever you will request other cloud service provider is going to accept it. It may not be, right, because that cloud service provider may be preoccupied by some other applications. For example, Renes case, you can see Renes case. What happened? Whatever the request now it has, right, or it has already a very high request, so it is not accepting any request. But others, if you see Nancy and Orse and Sophia, they are accepting the request from other sites because their resource utilization is not up to some extent. Load directed, how much load is redirected without looking by a particular site, sites in order to execute, that is in the fourth bar, right? So these processes you can apply in the intra-cloud resource management in order to execute the applications in multiple cloud service provider, right? See here Amazon US data center. You go for Amazon EC2, you can see there are a lot of regions are there. Typically there are 24 number of regions there. Out of 24 regions, there are two popular regions. One is East Coast region, another is called as West Coast region. Another is area, it is coming under Asia Pacific region, right? So whenever you are preparing a template, you can specify that let's say my application in East Coast region only, not in any other region, right? I am restricted to a particular geographical boundary. Okay, I am not open to all the types of all type of location, right? So Amazon customer can express. That's what it is saying. Amazon customers can express a preference regarding where they want to application service to be on. For example, like India has conflict with few countries, right? Few countries has conflict with India. So what can we can do? So we can request be used saved in that country because that the country leak may make get our data, manipulate our security, or our security will compromise. In order to avoid that, you can use a system, right? You can specify which region you are going to store your data. Because of this particular region, Amazon does not provide the seamless or automatic mechanism for scaling its hosted service across multiple data centers. You can save your resources in data center because of these regions. Amazon is not providing automatic mechanism. Suppose US East region you have selected, it will not going to store your data in US East region, right? If East is mentioned, it will store in East, not in the West position, right? So that as for the customer, the requirement will be satisfied. But what if you go for such mechanism? Okay, this automatic mechanism is not there. The first shortcomings you are going to get, that is finding best location devices customer services, is a question mark. It may happen that the number of resources in East Coast region is more than the West region, right? So somebody is referring to, let's say, West region, but West region's number of services or number of backup required for a particular application is very less. That is question mark. If that is a question mark, then automatically it will compromise your QoS. Your QoS or expectation will not be met, right? QoS will not be satisfied. So such type of things may happen whenever you go for a location specific application. Next is if you go for and you know that a particular cloud service provider may not have data center in all over the world. That's why it's saying no single cloud infrastructure established data center at all possible locations throughout the world. That is the main challenge to go for it, right? So to fulfill the quality of service, in order to fulfill the resource scarcity, you can take up this inter-cloud resource management in order to properly handle the fluctuation of the client request, right? So multiple cloud infrastructure provider they can collaborate. Like University of Melbourne, also they suggested the cloud bus project is there. So in that cloud bus projector, they have a brokering system. Broker will decide which it is overloaded, which particular site is underloaded. Broker will decide the request will be propagated to which particular site based upon the load. So that's why this particular cloud project, that is intercloud, having intercloud architecture, okay, they supports brokering and exchange of cloud resources, right? If you go for another cloud service provider, that is Salesforce.com, Salesforce.com negotiated the contract, right? Whatever SLA contract you have, if you are going for another cloud service provider, the SLA contract is different. But whenever you go for you have to negotiate in the SLA contract, or you have to go for a standardization among all the cloud service provider, so that a common SLA can be formed for all the cloud service providers. Okay, so application resource allocation, migration of workloads can be done by this brokering and coordinated service. The broker is responsible for your scheduling and allocating the resources to the user. Okay, or migrating the resource from one cloud service provider to any cloud service provider in case of any failure is encountered. A particular So they are checking the resources. Based upon that, they are deciding which particular site is more appropriate for a particular customer, right? So we'll stop here.